simple sounds. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to rely on an actual musical keyboard to do it. Yep.
Yeah, the second demonstration was more comprehensive to me compared to like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the developmental level that you're at, and you want to learn fast. And I was following the beat, so I'm thinking, yeah, I understand the beat.
Yep.
I can comprehend.
Yep. So I think it's a neat little tool. Okay, for it comes with I think about 20 songs already. Most of those songs are maybe 1 minute to about 3 minutes long. So they're not really long, but they are well known. Quote unquote, house tunes. And they have different remixes of the same tune, and the best part is you're not just listening to it. You can actually double click on the tracks and see how people are doing it. You can see what type of instruments they pick, and how what the notes are, what the chords are, and so on and so forth. So this is I just personally think if I have enough time, this is what I want to spend some time on. Is just to play with it. Most people have music, at least the talent to appreciate music. Now, maybe different genres, but most people do get affected by music. Okay, what is poisonous to one person is really good for another person. That part I cannot, that part is always going to be the case, just like with any art. But I think most people respond to music, to harmony, rhythm, and so on and so forth. And this makes it extremely accessible to just about anyone. I mean, you can start composing without spending a single dollar.
I have an appreciation from classical to heavy metal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and this is particularly useful for new age or anything that is synthesized. Because on a real piano, you only have 10 fingers, and you can only spread your fingers. I think the biggest hand I have seen can only spread it maybe 1 octave and two or three keys, and that's it. But with a full synthesizer, you have no limitations as to how many notes you can play at the same time and how many instruments you can play at the same time as well. So I think it's kind of cool. And you can also find, for anyone who wants to find out how to program in Scratch, you can just go to YouTube and type Scratch tutorial or Scratch a particular thing you want to do in Scratch, and you will find instructions of how to use Scratch using YouTube. There will be full demonstrations. Okay, you drag this into here, you drag that over there, and you click this, change this to whatever setting it needs to be, and so on and so forth. So how many people have tried to install and play with Scratch at this point? Okay, very good. So you might want to, the rest of the class, you might want to install it, and just kind of play with it for the time being, because our next homework assignment will be based on Scratch. It will be based on Scratch for some programming concepts. Okay, it's not going to be like really complicated, but we will get to like conditional statements and loops and stuff like that. So things that I talk about in the class, will be a part of your next homework assignment. Are there any questions at this point? Yep.
You said install
Scratch. Yeah, the program is called Scratch. It is in Moodle. I think there's a link in Moodle to Scratch already. And you want to install the latest version, which has more features than the earlier versions. I'm just navigating to the current topic here. So all you have to do is to go to Scratch and install it, and then you can start. You can also start with my own video clips, okay? Because I have recorded some video clips on basic instructions of how to use Scratch. That's from last year, but what I taught in last year is still applicable this year. So there's no obsolescence of the material that is in my own YouTube clips. Any questions about everything that we have talked about today so far? Yep, go ahead.
When is our next exam? Our next homework?
Homework is right here. In fact, I think I sent a note to the whole class. So right here, I sent a note close to midnight last night, and the homework is here. So basically, it is in the previous topic number 3, and it is titled Designing Your PC. You can see that most of this stuff is exactly the same stuff that I have been capturing through the past week and a half or so. So if anyone has been following this and researching and doing the work in the back end, this really should not be a whole lot of work in addition to what you have done already. The part that is new is basically what you have to do. This part is new. Okay, so I'll just kind of quickly go through this so that you know what I'm expecting out of the report. So write a report of the design process of the PC system. Please use the following structure. Reports that do not follow the structure will not be graded because it is impossible for me to pick out the little pieces when it is not organized, in this particular way. So first of all, you want to write an introduction. This is not a writing class, but just like with any type of writing class or any time you want to communicate anything that's complicated with another person, you don't start with all the details. You start with an introduction. In this case, the introduction includes two particular items. One is what you want the system to do. Okay. Now you can specify anything you want for the objectives. Okay, anywhere from I just want a basic PC to run a browser and basic Office application programs to I want to set up a system to run games. Okay, to run high-end games and have a really good, enjoyable experience. Or you can try to build a system for, let's say, musical, what I just demonstrated. You just want a system for that particular purpose. So in that case, you might have certain criteria, like it has to be a low noise, has to be a fairly silent PC. Because if you want to sample anything in addition to the synthesized sounds, you don't want the fan to be blowing like a jet engine, and you have a constant hum to your tracks. The next one is criteria. The differences between objectives and criteria is you can look at objectives as things that you want to do. You look at criteria as limiting factors, okay, absolute limiting factors or requirements that the system has to meet. For instance, I only have a budget of $400. Okay, well that means when you put together a system, you have to make sure the budget does not exceed the cost of the system does not exceed $400. Okay. Or if you want to play a particular game at a particular frame rate at a particular resolution, that also becomes a criteria because it is an absolute requirement. The system has to be able to do this. Okay. Objectives are more general, more vague. It's just stating overall speaking what I am going to use the system for.
Do you state the budgeting in your report?
It's up to you. If you don't have if you don't have a budget limitation, then you don't have to state budget is a limitation. But if you do, then you should state okay, I'm planning to spend up to $800 on the system and make it one of your criteria. So in other words, it's entirely up to you. Okay, it just has to be something that is sensible. Okay, some people say I can spend up to $4,000 on the PC. Which basically is almost not setting a limit because you can put together like a really super duper system for $4,000. Maybe gold plated cases and all that stuff too.
Gold leaf,
yeah. Okay, so the next section is going to be huge because it is about component selection. The components are already listed above, which means the beginning part of the homework description here. So this is our list of components, starting with applications, the operating systems, and then the processor, and so on and so forth. The reason why I put applications and OS, all the way to the top is because the choice of your processor and how much RAM you need depends on what kind of application you are going to run. Okay, if you just want to run a browser and maybe open Office, you don't need that much processing power. You need about half a gig of RAM, and that's it. On the other hand, if you want to run CS5, with Photoshop, and all your pictures are like 18 megapixels large, then you need quite a bit of RAM. Okay, 4 gig is probably what I would consider a bare minimum to run Photoshop CS5 when your images are up to 18 megapixels large. So that's why I list applications first, what you want to do with the computer, and then you will want to list the operating system, because the applications that you choose will determine which operating system is appropriate. If you want to run CS5, unless you want to run it inside the virtual machine, you have no choice but to use Windows. If you want to run LMMS, the music software, the composition software that I just talked about, you have no choice but to use Linux.
They have a Windows version.
They do? That would be kind of like an oxymoron, because the L of the LMMS, stands for Linux.
Goodness.
But that's okay. I mean, that's fine. If you find out that the program can also run in Windows, then you don't need Linux. Or if you decide that sometimes I want to run programs that can only run in Windows, other times I want to run programs that will only run in Linux, you can also consider dual booting. Yep.
What about a program such as Wine?
If you know your application can run in Wine, sufficiently, then go ahead. You can use either one. Then it depends on what else you want to run, and whether those other programs run better in Linux or whether they run better in Windows. Okay, very good. Yep.
Maybe I misunderstood because I didn't write down all the notes. It said your list at least two comparable choices.
That part is coming.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that part is coming. So I just want to show you guys where you can find a list of the components that you have to include in the report. So we have this big laundry list here, okay? And some of these items are more difficult to specify than others. So we want to just take a look here. For each component, okay, let's say processor, okay, you want to list two comparable alternatives. In other words, I don't want someone to compare a Core i3 processor to a Pentium M, okay, because those two are not comparable. Okay, so I don't want the rationale to be like really obvious. I want it to be fairly close. Maybe a high-end i3 to a low-end i5. Okay, both dual core. Okay, one is maybe $50 more expensive than the other one. So you have to basically say, okay, for $50 I am buying these additional things. Are they really useful to me? Do they matter? Running the application programs that I want to run. Okay, maybe they do, maybe they don't. So you have to basically look at the specifications of the components and find out whether it is worth the money for the extra stuff that you're buying. Yep.
Okay. For this system that I want, you don't want one that's operable for Windows and Linux.
You mean comparing the operating systems?
The alternative, choice. Is that what you want?
Well, within Windows, you have multiple versions of not multiple versions, but multiple retail packaging of Windows. You have Windows Home, you have Windows Home Basic, you have Ultimate, and so on and so forth. So you do have to compare between those different alternatives, because they're all Windows 7, but what do they come with? Okay, you look at Home, it comes with these particular things, and you look at the next level up, they come with a little more, and then you look at the Ultimate. Okay, it includes all of these other things, but out of the other things, what do you actually need? That's the question. Okay. Yep.
Does it matter? Does it have to be Windows 7?
Nope, does not have to be Windows 7, but you have to use an operating system, and you can only buy Windows 7 now, right? I mean, you cannot buy anything else.
XP or anything like that.
Nope. Well, you're putting together a new system, so you have to think about, okay, if I want to put together a new system today, what operating system can you install on that computer? You cannot get XP anymore. You cannot get Vista anymore. So off the shelf, you can only get Windows 7 these days.
And I don't know nothing about it. So it looks like I'll be doing a lot of research.
You have to do some research. Yep, you have to do some research.
I know things are moving fast and things are changing every year, but I love
you can go
that.
to Microsoft's website. They have a matrix comparing all the different versions of Windows 7. So they will tell you, okay, Windows 7 Home Basic has these features, and then the next one up will have these additional features. The next one up will have these additional features. And because Microsoft wants to sell you stuff, they will explain what those features are and how they will impact the use of